It's 3 in the morning, the house is completely dark, totally silent. Well, except for one sound. That relentless, piercing cry that feels like it's been going on for hours. You've tried everything. You've fed them, you've changed them, you've rocked them, you've shushed them, and nothing is working. You're just exhausted, alone in the dark, and there's really only one thought screaming in your head.
It's such a raw and lonely feeling. But what if I told you that sound, that seemingly endless, agonizing noise, what if it's not random at all? What if it's a perfectly engineered signal, something honed over thousands of years of evolution, all designed to do one thing: ensure survival?
So let's get into it, because the answer is actually wired deep inside our own brains. We're going to decode the science behind the one sound that can hold any new parent completely captive. To really get the cry, you first have to see it for what it is: an incredibly powerful survival tool. Seriously, this isn't just noise. You can almost think of it as a biological weapon, and it's designed with surgical precision to manipulate the adult brain. It all starts with the sound frequency. Okay, so your voice and my voice, we're typically in a much lower range, somewhere around 85 to 255 hertz. But a baby's cry, it operates way up in this higher, much more urgent band, between 250 and 700 hertz. And that is absolutely not an accident. That specific frequency is uniquely irritating. It's designed to be almost impossible for the human brain to just tune out. It's meant to cut through everything else and demand your immediate attention. So those sound waves, they don't just wander into the logical part of your brain. Oh no, they basically have a VIP pass that lets them bypass all your rational thought and hit you right in your emotional core. The amygdala, that's your brain's alarm center for fear and emotion, it just lights up like a Christmas tree. Your auditory cortex goes on high alert. It's a full-on neurobiological siren that unleashes stress hormones, forcing you to do something, anything, to make it stop. So why would evolution design such an intense signal? Well, one fascinating idea is called the signal of vigor hypothesis. And it's a bit brutal when you think about it. Back in our evolutionary past, resources were tight. A parent might have to make a really tough call about which child to invest their limited energy in. So, a baby that could cry loudly and for a long, long time was essentially shouting to the world, "Hey, I'm strong, I'm healthy, I am a good investment." It's a biological advertisement of its own vitality, all to make sure its caregivers stick around. But here's the thing, that same powerful, primal trigger is also where things can get really dangerous. For decades, parents have been stuck in the middle of some seriously conflicting advice on how to handle it. On one hand, you've got that old school advice to just let the baby cry it out, to teach them to self-soothe. But on the other hand, modern neuroscience tells a very, very different story. So what's actually happening inside a baby's brain when they're left alone to cry? Well, when a baby's cries for help aren't answered, their body's main stress response system, it's called the HPA axis, it just kicks into overdrive. And this system starts flooding their little body, and more importantly, their developing brain, with a stress hormone called cortisol. Now, a little bit of cortisol is totally normal, but when it just keeps coming, that's where the real trouble starts. Research shows that repeated, high levels of cortisol can actually be toxic to developing brain cells. It can mess with the wiring of those super important connections between the feeling part of the brain and the thinking part. It might even damage the stress system itself, which can make it harder for that person to handle stress for their entire life. And the danger isn't just what's happening inside the baby's brain. The intense frustration, the bone-deep exhaustion that parents feel from a baby that just will not stop crying, it's tragically the #1 trigger for abusive head trauma, which is often called shaken baby syndrome. The stress from that sound can push a loving caregiver right past their breaking point. Okay, I know that was heavy. The stakes here are incredibly high. We're biologically programmed to respond to this cry, but it can also be completely overwhelming. But what if we've been thinking about this whole thing the wrong way? What if we could reframe it? And what if we could actually translate it? A really helpful tool is something called the period of purple crying. It's a way of looking at what people used to call colic, not as some kind of medical problem, but as a totally normal, predictable stage. Let's break it down. The P is for the peak of crying, which usually happens around 2 months old. U is for unexpected. It just starts and stops for no reason. R means it resists soothing. You try everything and nothing works. The next P is for a pain-like face, even if they're not actually in pain. L is for long-lasting. It can go on for 5 hours a day, sometimes more. And E is for evening, which is when it often gets worse. And honesty, the most important word in that entire acronym is period. Just reframing it that way changes everything. It tells exhausted parents, hey, this is normal, it's not your fault, and most importantly, it is going to end. But what if you could figure out what was wrong before the full-blown screaming starts? Well, this is the real breakthrough. A woman named Priscilla Dunstan identified 5 universal sounds that babies make right before they cry. They're based on reflexes. So a na sound comes from the sucking reflex, and it means I'm hungry. An o sound is from a yawn, I'm sleepy. Heh means they're uncomfortable. A strained air sound means lower gas pain. And that short little eh means they need to burp. It's like a secret language, a cheat code to baby needs. And this isn't just some fringe theory anymore. This exact knowledge is now being used to power new technology. AI algorithms, the kind you'd find in smart baby monitors and apps, are actually being trained to recognize these specific sounds to give parents a real-time translation of what their baby needs. So we've gone from seeing the cry as a problem to actually translating it. But now let's zoom out, because what you do in those moments has consequences that last a lifetime. This is about so much more than just stopping the noise. And this brings us to some really foundational work in psychology by John Bowlby and his attachment theory. The big idea here is that a child's bond with their main caregiver is basically the blueprint for every relationship they'll ever have and for their overall mental health. See, every single time you respond to your baby's cry with warmth and comfort, you're laying another brick in this vital mental structure called a secure base. It's this deep, internalized feeling of safety and trust. It's the confidence that lets a kid go out and explore the big, scary world, because they know, deep down, that they always have a safe harbor to come back to. And there's a name for this whole process. It's called co-regulation. You see, an infant's brain simply doesn't have the equipment yet to calm itself down from major distress. So the parent has to be their external regulator. Your calm presence, your touch, your voice, it literally helps their biological systems get back to normal. You are teaching their nervous system how to manage stress. So the next time you find yourself up at 3 a.m., swaying in the dark with a crying baby in your arms, try to remember this. You aren't just surviving a tough moment. You're not just trying to stop a sound. You are doing one of the most profoundly important things one human can do for another. You are literally building the mental architecture of their future. It kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? The baby's cry is just one powerful, pre-programmed psychological tool. What other invisible forces are out there shaping our behaviors, our relationships, and our choices every single day without us even realizing it? If you want to keep diving into questions like that with us, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell. We have so many more secrets of the human mind to uncover. Thanks for watching.